This is my final TikTok video.
Shut up. We're back. We didn't have TikTok for approximately 14 hours. I read 4 books in that time. I'm just kidding. I only read 2. Few thoughts, three core thoughts about all this. First off, this entire thing was an absolute political debacle. And while people are celebrating the fact that Trump apparently swooped in to save TikTok or extend the deadline before this ban, I don't know exactly what he's doing. But for people to celebrate that, guys, this still isn't good. Yes, our government failed spectacularly. And first off, prioritizing a TikTok ban over everything else happening in the world. That is ridiculous. And that's the only thing that they can agree on. Oh, and it just so happens that there's all this insider trading and they're making all this money, hopefully, because all of TikTok will just go right to Meta, right? Yeah, that had nothing to do with it. And yes, our mostly geriatric and or tech illiterate government is made up of lizard people who are serving their own self-interests and have created a unelected branch of government called big business. No, they don't serve the people. Every branch of government failed here. While this set a very dangerous precedent for lawmaking in our government, however, Trump swooping in and undermining the Supreme Court still isn't good. Yes, the Supreme Court was wrong. It's been wrong before. Look at Roe v. Wade. But we still have checks and balances. And a political figure simply coming in and saying, nah, that's not awesome. Our founding fathers would be spinning in their graves in regards to all of this. As someone who would be considered a constitutionalist libertarian, I would love to see more power given back to the Constitution as opposed to undermining it. So yes, people can rejoice. TikTok is back. But this whole thing was real bad, guys. It was real bad. And the solution isn't great either. My second point, people were really afraid of data breaches within TikTok. This was unfounded fear. I don't expect most people to know about this, but any company that processes credit cards or has data storage has to go through a third-party hired company to verify that that data is secure and cannot be hacked into. My husband is part of that industry, and TikTok was one of his clients. Now, he was one on a team of people, but they still had to get past him. He vouched for how safe TikTok was. He's like, they are tight. You know who's a way bigger concern insofar as you're concerned about data being leaked? Meta. Uber Eats. Hey, remember a few years ago when Target had that major leak of 80,000 debit card holder information? I was one of them. My husband is part of the industry that is hired, private sector, to make sure that stuff doesn't happen. TikTok was one of the tightest companies he worked on. You guys really are out here thinking that your donations to political candidates or even giving to charity, your information's safe. Y'all are a bunch of some naive, silly gooses. Third point I wanted to make. I was honestly very disturbed by the open declaration of people via other platforms about how uninformed they were about TikTok. It really honestly blew my mind how people, they didn't have to be nasty. They didn't have to say anything, but they went out of their way to make fun of TikTok being banned. First off, these people have zero understanding about this disastrous slippery slope this created within our government. The precedent that this set, real bad. Anyone celebrating federal overreach like this to ban something that the government deems harmful would be cheering prohibition. Do not pretend you're one of those people who would not have cheered prohibition. You would have. And the argument I saw from these people, like, oh, well, there's girls dancing on it. That never showed up on my For You page. Didn't show up on my husband's when I scrolled his. You know what showed up on my For You page? Really good people connecting with each other. Men finally having a voice to stand up for themselves and fight for children and against parental alienation. I had doctors and health advocates show up for me. That's what filled my For You page, okay? If you went on TikTok and you told the algorithm that you wanted to see half-naked dancing chicks, that's you, baby. And the argument of, well, now there's going to be less smut on the internet. Why didn't you just ban the internet then? How about that? Let's just ban the internet, according to your logic. Bad things can be accessed. Okay, so let's just ban the internet then. People celebrating TikTok going down is comparable to people on other platforms making fun of Facebook going down, saying, well, whatever, it's just boomers thinking AI art is real, which is honestly far more accurate than the content on TikTok. No, but people went out of their way to publicly let everyone know that they did not give a damn about the small businesses and the creators who made money through TikTok. They did not give a damn that suddenly there was a way for small businesses to compete with Amazon. No, they had to let everybody know that they didn't understand how this will affect the U.S. economy. They had to let everybody know that they didn't understand that this was insane government overreach. And the amount of people who just sat there justifying people losing livelihoods. Artists were finally discovered. They finally had a chance. People could finally compete with Hollywood and get their names out there without soul-sucking contracts. Oh, well, we hate influencers. Okay, that's like making fun of the theater down the street closing and all the actors losing their jobs. Like quite honestly, grow up. I was just so disturbed by the willingness of people who called themselves Christian openly celebrating and letting everybody know just how self-absorbed and uneducated they are. I say with my full chest, those people are absolute plebs. So let's review. This entire debacle set a terrible precedent for how the government is working currently. No, your data was not going to be stolen and sold to China. And 3, if you were one of those people who couldn't have an ounce of empathy for your fellow man, I have no respect for you, okay? Posting on the internet that you are uneducated, self-absorbed, and do not understand the economy is not a flex, you pleb. Advertising that you blindly buy into propaganda is not a flex. Important things matter whether you think they matter or not. Your cognitive limitations does not dictate the value of something else. Exposing corruption is important. Learning about science and history is important. People having a right to make a living is important. Just because you can't wrap your mind around that doesn't mean it's not important. Good night.